passion and success way beyond what we ever previously thought possible. Here's your host, Frankie Lee.
Welcome back to the Frankie Lee podcast. Now today, guys, we have got another treat in store for you today because we have the man himself, Michael Ramsey. Now what Michael Ramsey has done is he's not only lived on the franchisee side of the world of business, but he's also sold franchises. And the reason why I believe this podcast is going to be so powerful for you, because he'll be able to put together everything that's gone on from both sides of the coin to show you that, you know, what's right for you. You might want to start a franchise. You might want to sell your business as a franchise. And what he's achieved in both working with F45 and his own brand, Strong Pilates in Australia, is nothing short of extraordinary. Michael Ramsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother.
How was that?
Yeah, that's good. I think you actually nailed that, hey?
Mate, I'll tell you what. This in-person podcasts, mate, are my thing. You know, I've done a couple on Zoom recently. Epic podcasts, vibe them out. But like this is where, for me, this is where the juice is. Do you know what I mean? Actually sitting down with someone belly to belly, having a conversation, helping the audience, telling the story right, and just putting the good content out there. And this is what we're here to do today. I think the best place for us to start in relation to you is obviously, as I gave a bit of a mention in the intro. And obviously there's a lot more to it than this, but I suppose the most highly known thing that you're known for is obviously in the F45 thing. You had 6 gyms, you had 6 facilities. One of those facilities was ranked world number 1.
Yep.
You know, in terms of like revenue generation and everything like that. Just give me a bit of a broad strokes overview of how you even got into this space, the franchising and all that from your perspective.
Yeah, cool, bro. So I was working as a marketing manager. I'm a marketer by trade.
Yeah.
So I went to uni. I did a Bachelor of Marketing, Masters of Commerce, but I've always been a PT as well. And I was pretty miserable, man. I was working in corporate and I was just hating life. I was lazy. I was getting up at like 9 a.m., get to work at like 10:30 and just like really super unmotivated. And on the weekends, I'd work in a nightclub, right? And I'd promote in the nightclub. And my boss actually at the nightclub, he was like the manager of the bar. He just said to me, he said, mate, I've found this concept. It's called F45. At the time, there was like 2 studios open, right?
Yeah.
Think about now, there's like probably 2,500, 3,000 studios globally. So
you were one of the first ones on board.
We were number 10.
That's
we're number
mad.
10, yeah. So he just said to me, I found this concept. I think it'd be great for you because you've got a marketing background, you're a PT, and you look like you're not really enjoying what you're doing. So he said, why don't we go check it out? So we jumped on a plane. I was living in Melbourne at the time. We flew to Bondi and went and trained. And bro, like, it was the most amazing thing I think I'd ever seen in the fitness industry. I rocked into this class and there was a DJ playing. There were 27 people training. There was a line of 27 people trying to get into the next class. The place was just packed and it was just going off, man. Like, it was crazy. And I'm like, fuck, like, this is the next big thing in the fitness industry.
Yeah, because you could just feel people's energy and they were just buzzing to get there and do it.
Yep, it was crazy. And like, coming from when I was a PT, like 10 years ago, I was working in a standard gym where, you know, it's fucking boring. You know, you're writing programs, everyone's walking around. It's like one of those 24-hour gyms, you know?
Yeah, Peacock place.
Yeah. And I hated it. And that's why I got out of the fitness industry, because there was just no vibe. I felt more like a counsellor, you know, than a PT.
I think because I did my PT and I did PT for a bit myself back in the day, and like, you just find yourself listening to people's problems who don't actually want to be there.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and you kind of want to be surrounded by people that actually want to be in the facility for the right reason, not be in the facility just because it's like the thing to do. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right, man. And like, you can make good money as a PT, but if you're not enjoying it, and you're not building the relationships you want to build, I don't think it's, you know, it may not be for you. But yeah, man, I loved it. I loved F45. First thing I did was went back to Melbourne, started negotiating with head office. We ended up buying. Well, we had no money at the time, so we didn't buy them. We negotiated 2 free licenses in Melbourne. I grabbed a few AFL boys I knew that were quite high up, and the whole deal with them was they would promote the studio and we would get 2 free licenses.
Really? So you structured that whole deal, so no money down?
No money down, no.
This is what I want you guys as the audience to understand here. Like, sometimes in life, you're not going to be able to create things the way that you want to create them. So like, you got to make things work how you got to make them work, right?
Exactly.
There's always a way, isn't there?
Exactly right, bro. And we knew that they needed Melbourne to be the next big growth market. So basically the two AFL players we got were Jimmy Bartell and Dyson Heppel. One's like a Brownlow medalist, so he's been there, done that, like top of his game. The next one was like up and coming, so, you know, a bit younger, but probably looked like being a future Brownlow medalist. So two big names in Melbourne. We grabbed them, we offered them a percentage split.
Yeah.
And then they came into the business and yeah, we picked the two best areas in Melbourne and just went hard.
What were those two areas?
Port Melbourne and South Yarra.
Yeah.
Yep. So Port Melbourne was the first. That was number 10 in the world. But when we opened, man, there was no brand equity in Melbourne at all. So
in terms of F45,
yeah, no one knew what it was. But the cool thing was, in our first year, we probably got more PR as a studio than F45 did as an entire brand. And the way I did that was, my role at the nightclubs used to be looking after celebrities, right?
Yeah.
I'd be the guy who they'd give the bottle of vodka to, and I'd take them to a table and just chill and hang and whatever. And so I just asked all these people that I've been looking after for years, hey, can you come and train in the studio?
And it's such a simple thing to do,
yeah.
But you've got to leverage what you've got. Not people try and think about spending lots of money, but when you don't have lots of money to spend, you got to get a little bit more creative, and that's what marketing is.
Yep.
Marketing is about creativity. It's about how can I get this result but in a way that's never been done before, usually.
Exactly right, man. So we did that. We got all the key people in. Instagram was just blowing up at the time as well, so that really helped. And I think like we worked harder, myself and my business partner Mark. We worked harder than we'd ever worked before, and this is one thing that I really stick by now. When you're young and you've got the opportunity to work 12 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours a day, and there's no repercussions on anyone else in your life. You don't have kids. You know you can just do it. I reckon it's the best opportunity just to go real fucking hard.
Yeah.
So man, we were
But I think the most important thing of what you said there, Michael, is like, yeah, it's important to go hard, and when you got the opportunity to go hard, but go hard on something you're actually into, really believe in. Yeah. A lot of people are going hard on like being a carpenter, but they might want to pursue a singing career, or do you know what I mean? Like the reason why it worked for you was because you rediscovered your passion for the industry. You were doing something. You put all the pieces of your life together, but in a different sequence. So you took the PT, which you didn't like, but you put it into a franchise that you did like. You took the nightclub bottle service that you probably didn't want to be up doing at 3 a.m, but you took it for the value of what it could do to you marketing your business.
Yep.
And it's like people have got to do that with what they're doing. Like they've got to take the things that they don't like but they're good at, and then put them together into something they actually do like, and then they can accentuate through that, in my opinion. But
no, 100%, I agree with that. It never really felt like work, because it was like, yeah, it's you're getting up, and particularly if you're starting classes at 5:15 in the morning, you're getting up at 4:30, you're closing at night. But it never ever felt like work, because it was just something that we enjoyed doing. So yeah,
mate, and so like when you started getting these celebrities into this things, like who were some of the early celebrities you started to get representing?
Oh, just like completely random, man. Like everyone from like comedians like M. Rusciano to people like news reporters like Tom Steinfeld and AFL players and NRL players and whoever was even traveling, like big DJs. We'd get them in, we'd get them training.
Is that how you met Sparksy?
I knew Sparksy because I used to work in the club industry in Melbourne. That's
so you knew him through that.
But I don't think he's come in and trained at my F45s, but we have trained together a few times. He's been on the show. Hey,
He's a top lad, Will Sparks, top lad. And I tell you what, mate, really, for him to come here and be open as vulnerable as he was on the podcast that I did with him, and if you haven't listened to that, you should 100% listen to that. Was phenomenal, mate. Was absolutely phenomenal to see that from a man that's done as much as he has. But in regards to you and everything like that, obviously you said back there that your franchise then became the top one and dominated for years. Obviously, that's not just because you got a few influencers sharing a bit of content. There's more to it than that. Give me a bit of an insight into that. How did you make that happen, and how did you sustain it once it was happening?
How complex do you want to get?
Mate, I want people to know the real shit, because I want people to understand what goes into it. Because we can all skirt around it on this podcast and say, "Hi, yeah, I was the top franchise," and that all sounds good. But people need to understand on the back end what goes into that, what makes that work. And you're the guy to tell that truth, man.
Yeah, cool. So it's like, mate, everything: sales processes, systems, marketing. I just created this code for digital marketing to get leads in, so to get members in, and we had a bit of a system internally where the lead would come in, my business partner would then follow them up after 3-4 days after they trained, and we just had a really good system going. We recruited amazingly, so we had the best staff. We oversupplied the gyms with staff, because one of the big things is with F45 you can press play and just run a workout on the TVs, and you don't even really need an instructor there. So
really?
we kind of overstaffed. We went the other way. Like we tried to just be so hands-on and so, I guess we had so many PTs working for us. It was crazy. And I guess the biggest thing that we did was challenge the business model. So the business model was only set up for 27 to 36 people. We were running classes of 72 people with 6 trainers. So we knocked down this wall that we had a gym. We knocked down the wall, doubled the capacity, and ran like huge monster classes.
And obviously, you've still at this point. Have you still got like a DJ in the corner or stuff like that going on?
Yeah, and we had some of Melbourne's best DJs that would come in. They were all members. They'd all train. So just built this like amazing, massive community. At the end of the year, we'd throw these huge parties for all the members. Like we'd get 800-900 people there. Like crazy, man. And it was all like community is probably the number one thing. We'd reinvest in like, we give back to a lot of the sort of local initiatives. Towards like after like the whole first year and all the PR that we got, we kind of focused more on the local area marketing, and our influencers became like your hairdressers, your baristas, your local area heroes.
The people that are seeing lots of people and talking about and are open to sharing things. Do you know what I mean? Like those kind of people.
Yep.
They're the influence. They're like, well, I don't like the word influencer, but they are the modern day influencers that get overlooked, right? Because you think how many people, like if you're a woman that owns a hair salon, and you've got like 6 girls working for you, and you're talking to like hundreds of people a day.
Correct.
On the ground in the area that your physical business is. I mean, they're like gold dust, mate.
Exactly, man. And that's where we're heading now with my new business. But even back then, like we kind of stopped pushing the influencers quite early and started realizing how important local area marketing was. And particularly like a lot of influencers have reach in America and in Queensland and Sydney, and it doesn't really particularly help a local gym.
Yeah.
So we kind of, we got really in depth there. But yeah, mate, just pushed and pushed and pushed. And when we started doing well and we started hitting some really good revenue targets, instead of me pulling the money out and just buying a property, let's say you've got a spare 150 grand, right, in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Most people, particularly my age, would try and get an investment property. But
yeah, because that's the Australian dream, innit?
Right.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
But I just said, all right, I got this. I want another one. And then I want another one. And then I want another one. And I want to just keep reinvesting. And like, man, we had, like, I remember I bought this one F45 for 90 grand. It was a struggling F45. It had an operator who was not living in Melbourne. They were living in Sydney. So
that's why it was struggling.
He wasn't hands-on. So we bought it for 90K, which is an absolute steal. And 12 months later, I sold it for 430. Right,
and you'd printed cash with it.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's probably like a 600K turnaround. You know.
Yeah. Because what you're doing here, and what I want people to understand whilst you're saying it, just in case you haven't clicked onto this, is you realise that F45 to you was a cash machine. So if you've got 150 grand left over, why wouldn't you buy another cash machine?
Yep.
And then when you got another 100, why wouldn't you buy another one and compound that growth with buying more cash machines? Basically, is what you're doing, because you just printed money, right? It's a no-brainer. Why would you buy a property? It's a no-brainer. Like, you wouldn't like, but logic tells people to buy properties when they've got cash.
Well, it's safe. It's safe, and it's not like every F45 does well either. Yeah. Like there's a blueprint that I use now when I open studios, but a lot of people struggle. Like a lot have closed, you know.
But you are a marketeer, and every business, the most important thing is the fact that you're the marketeer of your business, and not just like the practitioner, or not just things, because you can't just expect customers to come to you. It's no different to what I'm doing with content removal now. I'm starting to show more of the processes online, how we're removing content, this, that, and the other. People are loving that shit, and as a result, the numbers of people, numbers of inquiries go up. Everyone's interested because people are seeing things, how they're getting removed. They see the mechanics behind it, how it looks. Same way as what you're doing with your businesses. You need to be the marketeer of your business, and that's your first. That is what you should do first and foremost. Like, market your business. That is your only game in town, because that's where you get all the results.
And if you can't sell yourself and you can't sell your business, like how else are you going to succeed? I don't know. I think people really undervalue brand and marketing as well. Like, particularly buying into a franchise, they think, it's just going to happen as well. But sometimes you need to be able to market yourself as well.
I wouldn't say sometimes. I'd say all the time. Like, if I bought an F45, a Strong, a Fit Stop, an Anytime Fitness, it doesn't matter what you've got in place as procedures internal in house that I get as a franchisee of yours. I still have to put bums in my gym, and the only way I do that is to do local marketing on Instagram, to do the kind of things that you're talking about, to pull people in, to get people into my world. Because what's the difference between my Anytime Fitness or my F45 and mate's down the road who's in the next suburb? The only difference is my personality, the spin I put on it, the feeling I create in my gym, the energy that I create in that space. That's what you got to deal with, right? And that's what you've done. That's why yours were the top ones, because you created the energy to go along with the brand that was already pre-existing.
Yeah, and it has to come top down as well. Like, your staff need to be able to kind of, talk the same language that you do and breathe the same air that you breathe as well. I found that to be really, really important when we scaled, because like at one stage we had I think 70 trainers across, I had 6 F45s, a yoga studio, a retreats business, and they had to talk the same way that we talked, that I talked. And it's really interesting. Recruitment's another big one. Yeah. It's
a minefield. Getting the right. It's not about just getting people. It's about getting the right people on the bus at the right time that actually want to go. Like, there's a lot of people out there that unless they're fully invested in what they're doing, they're no use to your business. Because you want them as an employee or as someone who's involved with you to enjoy what they do as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the fucking point? It's just a headache for everybody.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I fully resonate with that. I've dealt with that myself. It's kind of like, if they're not into it, they're better off the train than on the train. Do you know what I mean? Because there's someone else that would be passionate about it. So, you obviously said there you bolted another yoga. Why did you go about bolting a yoga studio on, and why did you go about bolting a retreats business onto the F45 when you could have just bought more F45s? I
got a bit bored. Like, diversification's important, I think, as well, and I don't never want to be a one-trick pony. Look, the yoga studio was a learning curve, probably a mistake. I found this beautiful space that I wanted to put an F45, but it just wasn't the right sort of space, but it was just beautiful, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to get it. And then I built a new brand and a yoga studio, but because I wasn't hands-on, it probably didn't go that well. I ended up selling it 2 years later.
Did you get out of it a break-even or a profit, or?
No, I lost.
You lost money?
Yeah, lost money. From not huge amounts, from the fit-out and everything, probably lost, I don't know, it would have been under $100,000, but that was a huge learning curve for me. Just in terms of also systematically setting up things in terms of membership models, pricing structures with memberships, and just understanding a whole new different space. Like, yoga's very niche as well.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't just open up something and throw any old yoga teacher in. It's quite,
because people have their way of. There's so many different types of yoga. Do you know?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you all of them. You got like Bikram hot yoga, all these different types of yoga that might suit. And even so much to say is, if you're in a certain type of location, a certain type of yoga might go down well in that location, where a certain type of yoga might not. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You have to know There's so much to know with a yoga studio when you think about it.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do that, man?
I don't know, man. And like, I didn't really do much yoga myself either, so it was just, I don't know.
Completely off brand.
I think I was a bit cocky as well. Like, I'd been going so well, and but it's good. Like, these things happen for a reason. It certainly made me be a lot more like stringent in the way I set up businesses now and where I put money and what I invest in. But yeah, but the retreats thing, that was a bit of a no-brainer. Like, if you've got a couple thousand members Australia-wide and they all love fitness and they all love going to the gym, it makes sense to bring them off-site and upsell another service offering like a retreat. Yeah. So
and can you do, when you're tied into a franchise like an F45, when you create that supplementary business on top, which you're talking about, which is the retreats business, are you allowed legally to be able to take them from one business into another, or is there a grey area there?
There's probably a grey area, but I guess the way I always saw it was, this is my database. I can do what I want with it.
Yeah.
The best thing I think about being early days with F45 was they kind of just like let you do your own thing, and it wasn't until like many years down the track the compliance stuff started.
Right.
So
yeah.
I just kind of was let to run my own race, and that's, I just sort of embrace that.
Yeah.
A lot of people get a bit lost with it. But yeah, man, I think by the time it got to that stage, it was too late. Like, Journey Retreats had built up a substantial brand, and then I guess its own audience as well. So it was beyond my own database then. So,
and was it for you? Was it something you just thought, okay, this is a little added value that I can bring and that I can just market to my existing customers and my existing clients? Is that why you bolted it on initially, or was it something that you were passionate about as a separate issue?
Initially, yeah, because I love fitness and I loved what I was doing, and I thought this would be great for my members. But then, like, it got really competitive. Probably the biggest competitor of ours in the retreat space, after the first one that I did, they started messaging all our retreat guests saying, come on our retreat, like literally DMing them on Instagram.
Yeah.
And this is like 4 years ago, and I was like, fuck this, I'm going to take you guys on. And like within like 2 years, I think I'd taken most of the Bali sort of market, and taken more people to Bali than they had, just purely because I was angry and ultra competitive. Yeah. So you don't do that.
It isn't a good way of doing business, and it does come back round on you. But in the same, you needed that. You needed that as a business owner. You needed that because that lit a torch under your ass to take it to the next level. Would you have taken it to the next level if you hadn't had that torch under your ass? You'd probably just coasted.
Probably would have coasted, yeah.
Because don't forget, at this point in time, you've got 6 cash machines running, F45s, and then this retreat business is a little side project for you.
Mm.
So the reason you took it to that level was because someone put a torch under your ass.
Yeah, fucking know.
Do you know what I mean? Like, when you think about it like that, that's the way I see things, man. It's like everything for a reason, and that was a great reason for you. But so did you end up making an acquisition there and taking them over, or did you just wipe them off?
No, we're still very competitive.
Oh, you're still dueling now.
Yeah.
So you've done that, right? You're getting a bit of money now, right, Michael? Yeah. Mm. It's not like you're struggling for cash. You're pretty set. Whatever makes you sell 6 F45 studios when you've got them all printing cash like you had, and then go and set up your own brand strong?
To be honest, man, like I was kind of involved with a 45 head office, and I'd give a lot of suggestions in where I thought the brand should go, where the programming should go, so the way the workout should be structured, how the campaign should look, who our target audience is, things we need to do with mobility, things we need to do with recovery, things we need,
Yeah.
And it was just like, it fell on deaf ears. Like, I just felt like all these things that I had that I really needed to see as a brand weren't happening. So think about product or business life cycle. Okay, generally we'll go like that. But if you innovate, you won't recess. You'll keep going. You keep innovating, you'll keep going. Keep innovating, you'll keep going. That's the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
And
especially in fitness.
Particularly in fitness, yeah. And I just felt like it just, not that they weren't innovating, but the things that I thought were important weren't happening. So I was like, fuck it, I really like just want to do my own thing, and I kind of I was really quite complacent as well, and I needed a little bit of pressure. Yeah.
So would you say then at this point, because this will be a good point for the audience to pick up on here. So as a franchisee of F45, even though you have 6 businesses, you're marketing them yourself highly successfully to make them successful beyond the model that's there. Did you still feel like you had a job? Like in terms of because you were controlled and constricted because of someone else's brand?
To some extent, yeah.
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 And so I just want people to understand that then that if you buy into become a franchisee of someone else, then you can potentially end up, if the brand's not going where you want it to go, you can end up restricted and constricted into what you don't want as well. You know what I mean? It's just something to consider if you're going to buy one. That's
right. And that's why it's super important to really look at, I guess, who the partner is or who the franchise is, and make sure it resonates with you. Like, if it's Fit Stop, great. If it's Strong, great. If it's yoga, great. If it's Pilates, great. If it's whatever, but it needs to work for you.
Just needs to align with the way that you want to.
Same values,
same type of training. Do you even if you're opening skin clinics in Australia, it's like which one of my friends has that listens to this podcast, right? Yeah. If she's aligned with it, and she can open like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them because she's aligned with it. But if you just open it as a complete cash play with no you're just thinking about money from day one.
Yep.
You're probably, with a franchise, you're probably going to fall on your ass, because if you look at most people, whether it's a gym's franchise, whether it's whatever franchise, whatever niche you're in, if you're not truly into it, if you're not truly in love with it, if you're not truly on board with everything that they do, not just half of it that generates revenue, but the other half you don't like, you kind of pissing in the wind.
I found every time we've seen a really good, say, rise in revenue, or we've done really well financially, we've stopped worrying about the money and stopped trying to make money, and we've just knuckled down on the things that make the business great. And then and once we've done that, it's been, the reaction of that has been, we've made money, as opposed to, just thinking about, I need to do this to make another 100 grand or 200 grand or 300 grand or whatever. It's always about, let's run these classes better. Let's treat our staff better. Let's be better for our members. Let's, all these little things. Cleanliness is huge. Like, the number one reason females leave gyms in Australia is because they're dirty. Right? It's due to cleanliness. Like, all these little 1%ers that you start doing result in making money, as opposed to thinking, I'm just going to buy this and make money. It's really interesting. Like, when you forget about it. It's the simple things. It's the simple things that make all the difference. It's like, I was thinking about this the other day in regards to what I do, right? Obviously, with the content removal business, it's simple as this. It's like, there's really nice people you can work for in the industry, and there's probably people that you don't want to work for. So I make an agreement in my mind that I only represent people and brands and stuff like that I resonate with, that I like, and that I personally vibe with, that have banter and stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't give a fuck whether you offer me $100,000 check if I don't like you, or I think you're a multi-level marketing scheme that's talking bollocks, because that, it's just like pushing shit uphill.
Yep.
Because it's not aligned with me as a person. So I think everything that you do in business should be in full alignment with you as a person, and all of a sudden it starts to work so much better for you, and pieces just start slotting in together. And I've every client that I have now is like a phenomenal client, whether she's a Hollywood actress that I like, or whether it's a fitness brand or whatever. It's like everything slots in because they're the right people. But the ones that I turn down, and the ones that I don't end up working with, they'd have been, if I just tried to push them in like a square peg in a round hole, they'd be the ones on the phone all the time complaining about something, being unhappy, making me unhappy. For money, is it worth it? Absolutely not. It's like when people come to try and get you to put ads on the podcast. It's like, mate, this is my passion, bro. Like, you're just gonna not just gonna throw a fucking ad on here on something I don't use or that's not aligned with me as a person, just for the sake of money, mate. What are you talking about?
If you believe in it, will you run an ad on this podcast?
If I believe in what 100%, there's nothing wrong with running an ad on the podcast, as long as it's something I physically use and I physically believe in.
Yep.
But I'm not willing to do it with something that I don't believe in, because this is my passion. I believe that I've got a purpose to do this stuff, and obviously share stories like yours.
Yep.
And the reason why people like you come on the podcast is because you know it's authentic, and it's going to be authentic. If you start fucking whacking on fucking ad for dog fucking biscuits or whatever, it's just crazy shit, isn't it? Like, why would you do that? But so many people get caught up in that money play. You see it on Instagram. You're a marketer yourself. You see it on Instagram. How many, let's just put it out there, how many men and women do you see representing 16 different bikini brands or swim short brands, and it's not congruent, and the audience can see it's not congruent, and then you've got an issue, right?
Man, there's probably half a dozen influencers I use now, and that's it. Like, I think the whole space is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so... You're right, there's no brand loyalty. There's no authenticity. And the best of the best are doing really well because they're authentic. But there's this, like, middle ground of thousands and thousands of influencers that are just crap. And they're just pushing products. And that's all it is. And it's just... And I think they're trying to be authentic, but... they're still genuinely not authentic. So.
Yeah. It's like genuine unauthenticity.
Yeah.
Like you because if you're wearing a Frankie's bikini on the Monday, and then they're wearing your bikini on the fucking Friday, right? Yeah, you could like both, but if they're both paid posts, I'd hazard a guess that you prefer one over the other. Why wouldn't you go more in on the one that you love?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Or just showcase the one thing you love. It just doesn't make any sense, because if I'm a woman looking at that, I'm thinking to myself, as a man, I'm looking at that, I'm like, well, I don't know how the girls feel, but for me, I think that's a little bit weird. Like, it just doesn't. It's not congruent with you as a. You don't know who you are, is what I'm saying, and then that's the problem, because people can't bang when you don't know who you are. When you put your flag out, people can either say to you, Frankie, I like you, or Frankie, you're a cunt. Excuse my language. Yeah. But like but at least you're polarizing in one way or the other. You don't have to be. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you did as a brand. That's what you did as a franchise, and that's why when things weren't moving in the way that you did, you had to change the model, because like you needed that move, that ability to be genuine, and it wasn't sitting well with you.
And I think you see a lot of these influencers that are trying to find who they are and trying to be authentic. I'll give you a really interesting example. Like 2 days ago or yesterday maybe, it was World Ocean Day, right? And you get all these girls posting shots in bikinis going, you know, World Ocean Day, save the seas, save the oceans, but themselves will drink 3 bottled waters a day. They'll single-use plastics. They'll drink 4 cups of coffees and they won't use a keep cup. Like, you know, they're putting plastic out into the ocean. They're not thinking about it, and they're not really passionate about it, but they're trying to come across as authentic. You just see that stuff all the time, and I don't know, man. It's you kind of just hope that they find what they're actually passionate about and what they give a fuck about. Like, I just think no one really like, a lot of people are lost.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these influencers are just lost, and they're trying to push a narrative that doesn't actually work for them. I don't know. I
know when I see a profile and it says that you do this and 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 you do this, and I was featured here and here, and I'll do this and this and this. I'm like, okay, so who are you then? What do you do? Like, what is your thing? If you look at my Instagram is me doing some boxing or training in the gym, podcast, content removal. Content removal is my business. Boxing's my passion. The podcast is my passion. It's pretty fucking simple what I do. That's what I do. If you want to find me, you'll find me in one of those 3 locations. Simple as that. Like, that's what I do. Same with what you do. It's very clear from the offset. You either like it or you don't like it, but that's just it. So it is. It's cool. Like, it's very clear. And the reason I took, I'll give you an example. I'm a professional boxing trainer. I'm licensed. I was one of the youngest licensed in the UK, right? Unless you listen to the initial podcast, you wouldn't know that. I used to have it written in my bio. And then I looked at it one day and I thought, well, that's not congruent, because I haven't trained a pro since like late 2019.
Yeah.
So I'm not being congruent, and this was like 2020, like late 2020. I thought, fuck, I have to remove that because it's not congruent with who I am. You know what I mean?
And you're being true to your audience and the people who are consuming your stuff. And if you haven't trained someone since 2019, well,
you can't have it in your bio because it's not the truth.
Yep.
Because the truth is, I'm not training pros right now.
Yep.
I actually did train with a pro the other day, a pro MMA fighter. But like, I'm not just going to put it back in for the day that I did it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like be just if you're listening to this, right? And you kind of getting you kind of getting what me and Mark are saying here. All I'm saying is, have a look at what you're doing. This is a bit of self-reflection. Have a look at what you're doing. Is it congruent with who you are? If it is, crack on. If it's not, change it. The reason I say change it is simply this. It's a benefit to yourself right now if you're honest with yourself and who you are. That's it. And I'll leave that with you for you to think about. Do you know what I'm saying?
I also think that consumers and just the people, the general public, are now a lot more savvier and understand and do respect when you're being honest as well. Like I think the consumer's smarter now as well. So, I think if you're going to use a platform to sell yourself or whatever it is, there needs to be a huge aspect of honesty. But
and 100%, and just.
People are smarter now.
Yeah, the world has moved on, and I'm pleased we got that piece in there. I wasn't expecting to drop this piece in there, but I'm pleased we got it in there because it's so important, it's so relevant, and it's so relevant right this second in the marketplace. It's saturated with shit, and that's why when you do something and people can feel your passion in what you do, and they know that you love it, and they know you're doing it for the right reason, that's why you get more listeners, that's why you get more viewership, that's why you get more feedback. It's all a response to them seeing your authenticity in what you're doing, and that's all that life is. It's all that marketing is. It's just about creating a feeling in someone else that they know that you are truly about that. And if you can't tell that I'm truly about the podcast, you're smoking crack. Do you know, what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, simple as that.
Oh, man, like when I got out of the car before, you're like, man, I'm so excited. I'm so amped,
Yeah, man.
And I'm not a person that is high energy. So for me, that's like really cool to see, because I wish I could wake up every day and just be like, yeah, I'm going to smash this day. I'm so excited. But that's just not me. It takes me a little bit longer.
You've seen me in the gym, right? You've seen me. You see how I approach training? I fucking love it, man. I fucking love it. You've seen the same with you. When I see you, you said Michael rings me, he goes, I'm downstairs. I'm like, sweet, cool. I come downstairs, and I'm like fucking hyped. I'm amped. I'm like, this is going to be a sick podcast. I can't wait to drop this. He's not even done like the full 3-point turn, reverse park to maneuver, and I'm like literally like got my hands up in the air in the car park, going, come on, like just.
And I'm like, oh, bro, I'm so tired today, like.
And I'm jacking him up, mate. But this is hyped, isn't it? Like, what? It's Friday, mate. It's a fucking good podcast, and we're dropping it.
It's good energy, man. That's what everyone needs in their life as well,
Yeah, they do, mate. They do, and it just can't all be about. Look, the first bit was about straight business, putting things together, this, that, and the other. This is a bit more about like people's mindset and what they should look out for and how they should be. And then now really want to pivot back into like building strong. So you separate away from doing the F45s, all that stuff. You sell all that, you cash out, you get some good money. Did you take a little bit of time to think about what you wanted to do, or did you already have it set the day that you sold those F45s?
I was about 6 months into strong before I sold F45. So I'd already gone to LA. I'd researched the machine that we use, and I was already building the brand before we sold. So, yeah, man, I was right into it. I'll explain a little bit about like what strong is, how it works.
Yeah, go for it.
Basically, we own the rights to the Rowformer, which is a Pilates reformer bed with a rower attached to it. So it's one big machine. Yeah. Before we started strong, I could see the growth of the Pilates market just. And now you can see even more, like it's massive.
Look at you getting his face just lit up like a Cheshire cat when he said he saw the growth. He's a typical marketer. He's a typical marketer.
I love being right.
Oh, here we go. Go on.
Well, do you know what the really cool thing is? That with this this concept, when I went over to LA to check it out, and that's where the machine originated.
Yeah.
I remember I was telling you that feeling that I got when I walked in to the F45 studio in Bondi.
Yeah,
7 years ago.
probably the same feeling as you walked in the gym and saw me shadowboxing.
Exactly. not quite, but
Go on.
But yeah, I got that when I did the workout. I didn't get the same feeling walking in, going like, "This is the next big thing." But when I did the workout, I was like, "That is one of the best physiological experiences I've had in terms of like." The different energy systems and the way you would go from Pilates to rowing, and then your heart rate would stay elevated, and you go back to Pilates and you burn this huge amount of calories, but still get all the benefits of Pilates.
Yeah.
And then I'd start doing all this research, and the number one thing everyone said who was doing consistent reform of Pilates was, I feel like I have to go for a run, or I feel like I have to go for or do a HIIT class after my reformer class because they're just not getting that calorie burn. So this reformer is a full solution, which is amazing. So
I'm gonna have to try this, and I.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Well, we've got one here on the Goldie.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get roped in. I'm gonna do it. Do you reckon? Yeah, I reckon. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's put myself right outside my comfort zone. I'm going to turn up there in a leotard, mate. I'm going to crack on.
Bro, it's tough, but we're so gender neutral. We get so many dudes in there.
Yeah, no, mate.
Yeah.
I got no problem with coming in there.
Yeah.
So, look, mate, I just want to try. I want to try and feel what you're talking about. But yeah, carry on.
So we negotiated the rights for Australia, New Zealand, Asia, and Canada. And then I started building out the brand. So I guess what was missing was those 1%ers I was talking about, all the little key elements in a studio that make people go, yeah, I want to sign up. So like, I've gone as far as we play a lot of Jay-Z. Okay, so on the Pilates side, we play R&B. On the rowing side, we play deep house. Okay?
Yeah,
so we play a lot of Sparksy and But on the Pilates side, we play a lot of Jay-Z, and Jay-Z loves cognac. So the scent of the studio, I put cognac in there, as well as things like.
You've actually got a cognac scent, or you've actually just put cognac in it?
It's a part. There's four things that make up the strong scent, and cognac is one of them.
But it's a secret recipe, right?
That's right. But remember I talked about the cleanliness in studios.
Yeah.
One of the ingredients in there almost smells like, and you wouldn't even know that it's this, but it smells like a chlorine, and it just makes the studio smell really fresh. And then you've got like tones that uplift you as well. Like there's a fair bit went into it. So. You've got like the sense of the studio. You've got every locker has a phone charger, you know.
Yeah, mad.
And then when you walk into the studio, there's a sign that says "Burn now, brag later," and we say that because we want people to burn now. We want them to train on the machine and brag about it later. So we want them to leave their phones in the lockers
and be present
and brag about it later. So there's all these little things that we thought about that were like, this is what's falling down in the fitness industry. You know, you see people carrying their phones around in classes and not being present and not getting a good workout. And, we just sort of picked it all apart.
Yeah.
Created strong.
Mate, I love the fact that you've gone to the effort of actually making a physical, like, perfume for the gym. Like,
yeah, bro.
I'd have just got some Glen 20 in there and just freaking sprayed it about with a little bit of, like, Dior sprayed across the top.
It's amazing, actually, like, how much scent can do for you. Particularly, like, I'll walk into the studio and as soon as it hits you, you get this nice feeling of...
It's go time.
Yeah, and because, like, the workouts, it's a massive endorphin workout. Like, at the end, you just feel fucking awesome. And, like, so whenever you smell that scent, it reminds you of how good you feel. And, yeah, there's a bit to it, man.
And I suppose it reminds you of the good workout you had the day before, right?
Yep.
So it's like, it kind of like takes you back to, like, if you've performed well the day before, once you get into a bit of a routine of performing well, subconsciously it's taking you back to, I've just had a shit day at work, but I walk in here and I feel like I felt at 5 p.m. yesterday, which was fucking good. You know what I mean? And I'm back there now. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
Exactly right. And it's like when you walk into the casino and it smells the same, right?
Yeah.
But that just reminds you that you lost money. And
fuck you know, mate. Honestly, casinos... Other places that we won't mention on the podcast, like you can lose a lot of money in these joints if you're not careful. But you can lose a lot of money in Australia, wherever there's beautiful women. I kind of feel, but that's another story.
Is that why you're living here?
Yeah, mate. Honestly, no, mate. I'm completely single and free, and not, mate. I'm just mate, I'm just doing me, mate, and it's working. Like it's just vibing, mate. Just vibing. It just keeps things simple, mate. Like you said before at the start, earlier on in the podcast, it's like when you are a younger man who can be driven, who can, and this is a younger man or younger woman, but like when you're fully focused on what you're working towards, you probably have to be a little bit selfish in terms of like what you want, and like you have to recognize whether things are good or bad energy for you. And I go a lot off energy these days. I think this is a good point to talk about in the podcast before we pivot on to the next bit I want to talk to you about. But like, it's very important and something I want to share with you guys that I've kind of learned. Hopefully you resonate, Michael. It's like, I've noticed a lot lately, especially lately, that you have to pay fucking attention to how certain people in your life, how they leave you feeling. Like in terms of like, are you left better after they've been in your presence, or are you left feeling tired or feeling like fucking hell, that was straining, or you know what I mean? Just be really self-identifying with that. And that is something I've learned recently. It's like if you're constantly turning up to a situation bringing the best energy, and then for whatever reason when you leave that person's presence you feel a little bit like fuck me, that was hard. Like that affects every other area of your life. That affects me booking podcast guests. That affects you doing marketing. That affects you doing everything else. So like the question, the reason why I shared that and the question I want to go on to you is obviously like you've got a partner. How much has she been a supporting mechanism in what you've done and added to what you've done as a businessman? Yeah,
definitely. So she's probably seen majority of this strong journey, which has been like a very stressful, scaling the way we have. We've gone from, I think we've got 3 studios now. We've sold 35 and we've got like 9 opening in September. And to get to this point has been a lot of stress, right? And a lot of, I guess, selfishness as well.
Yeah.
So she's been incredible, man. And sometimes she knows just to leave me alone and just let me do my thing. But she's still really, really supportive, and she doesn't get hung up on the fact when maybe I'm not spending enough time with her or whatever else. But she's still like, she looks after me, man. And like, it's weird. I've never thought that I would be the kind of guy that needs a woman to look after me, or a woman to...
But it's nice, isn't it? It's nice at the same time.
But nice. She does it, and it's not like I asked for it, but she does it unconditionally because she loves me. But yeah, she's been amazing, bro. She's a good support, but she's fun as well. Like, she's a good... When you're in work mode and you're going and you've got all your notifications on your phone and you're on your laptop and then, like, you're in the zone, it's hard to get out as well sometimes. Yeah. So... it's good when she brings me out, and I'm just, and it's just like this breath of fresh air, and then I'm back being me again. Do you know what I mean?
With the dating and the business side of things, right? With like having a partner in a business at the kind of level that you're going into and the level you've been at, do you find that you have to like schedule in like date nights and all that kind of stuff to make sure that shit happens? Because obviously you've got another person to think about as well. Like, if you're on for 6 days, do you give it the 7th day, or how do you work it in to make sure that, because you see so many relationships flourish at high level through business, but you see so many fail, and I just kind of want to, like, you're doing it real successfully, and like I think it's useful. I want to know it. I want to know the answer, so maybe the audience wants to know the answer. Like, it's like, do you know what I mean?
To be honest, man, we don't overthink it. Like, we just flow with it.
Just flow with it.
Yeah. There's no set times. There's no nothing. We just sort of flow with it.
I think that's good, mate. Like, you can tell she's supportive too. I love that.
Because if we have to roll out a new campaign or something, right, and it's going to take me 4 solid days of just getting it done, well, then we're not going to be going out for dinners and shit like that. Like, I'm going to be coming home from work, opening up my laptop again and sitting there till midnight just getting shit done. And she understands that. So we just flow with whatever the situation is, and then sometimes, and the great thing is about working for yourself is sometimes you can get like one week, 2 weeks where it's like, hey, I'm just going to fucking take some time off. My staff is smashing it. Things are set up. We're 3 months ahead here. I'm just going to chill a little bit. I still work, but I'm just going to chill out, and we might get 2 awesome weeks. We'll just go away for the weekend or whatever. And I think you just got to flow with the situation. Yeah.
It's good. It's something I want to understand myself is like, how do you find that person that is your team? You know, because with everything that I'm personally doing, like it can be a bit like selfish. You know, if you're a man who's sitting there thinking to yourself, right, I don't just want to be a podcaster. I want to be like fucking one of the best that's ever lived, mate. Like, why would that not be my target?
Yep.
If that's your target, it's like, well, fuck me. If that's your target and that's your goal, what have you got to allow to not be in your life for that to happen? Do you know what I mean? And kind of as people, the reason I say this on here is because, like, one, a lot of men are going to resonate with it, and two, a lot of women might potentially think that like the man's being selfish or this, that, and the other. It's not that at all. It's the fact that, like, you got to live your purpose, haven't you? And if you kind of not living your purpose, you're no good to a woman anyway. If you're not on purpose as a man, that's what I've found. I don't know, like, what you think about it, but I think the relationship that you've got, I can clearly see it allows you to be on purpose, and then as a result of that, that's why everything's going fucking sweet as a nut. Like, and it makes a hell of a lot of difference.
Well, I just think it comes down to happiness as well. If you're doing what you're meant to be doing and you've got purpose behind what you're doing, you're going to be happier, you're going to be resonating better, you're going to be, vibrating better energy, you're just going to be happy.
More, attracting more to you.
And yeah, mate, I think it just comes down to that. But, you know, in the same breath, there's times when I've got a little bit of downtime and she's busy as well, and it's a two-way street as well, man. Like, it's not just...
Yeah, she's like, mate, I'm too busy for you.
Yeah, I mean, she's got her own business. She sells sort of beauty products, and, you know, she's been working on that pretty hard. And yeah, man, it's not like, you know, sometimes we just don't get that time, but it is what it is.
No, it's nice. That's why I wanted to ask you about it, because I thought of how nice it was. You know what I mean? And it's good to see that in business, because I think people overcomplicate it, but it's nice to see how simple that is to you. It's like there's no structure. It's just we just both vibe, and we know what each other's got to do, and we both respect each other's things, and you're both on purpose on your own planes, your own things that you're doing. So it does. So this needle in the middle doesn't need to happen. That resonates with me a lot. It resonates with me. You got to find that. That's what you've got to find. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If you're looking for it, that's what you got to find. You got to realize that. That's put a lot in perspective for me. But like, give me in regards to these studios and everything like that. So you've now sold, was it 35, 36 locations? Yeah, 35 locations. We some days we'll get like 30, 40, 50 inquiries for locations. So now I want to know how you, because obviously probably you sign off on the locations. I want to know how you get the right locations and how many locations you actually want to have in Australia. So we work with the franchisee to get the locations. So we empower them to jump on realestate.com, to contact all the real estate agents to make sure they're looking everywhere, and then they'll come to us with potential sites. Yeah. We'll get an architect to look at it, because these things are fucking 4.1 meters in length. They're huge. So they're not just going to fit anywhere. Yeah. So there's a bit that goes into the site and everything like that. But we try and empower them to look at the site, and even the location. Like, man, you'll get, there's so many popular locations. Like Gold Coast for us has been the most popular. Basically, all of Gold Coast is sold out with Strong. So how many will be here eventually? There will be 8. 8, yeah. So that's like literally like every suburb's going to have one, basically. Coolangatta all the way up to sort of Hope Island, yeah. Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. But it still gives people enough space to have, like, you know, 60 to 80,000 people in their footfall. That's right. And this is the thing that we didn't really like with not just F45, but a lot of other franchises as well, was there's one every fucking sometimes 2 kilometres, 3 kilometres. And it's too much. For us, we need minimum like 40,000, 50,000 people. Otherwise, you see this cannibalisation of members from one club to another, yeah. And they jump around, they try and get the better deals, and then the studio owners just hate each other and they go at each other. And, you know, we're trying to build a family here. We're trying to build a network of amazing entrepreneurs. And you can't when people are fighting over territory. Yeah. So what do you, how many like square miles territories are these in on the Gold Coast? They're roughly sort of 40 to 50,000 per
So they'll go over a couple of suburbs. Generally.
Yeah. Just to exactly make sure that you're not, if you're training at Hope Island, you're not going to be training at Surfers potentially. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
well, it's a 30, 40-minute drive, to there. So, look, mate, it's something we've been very conscious of. But yeah, everyone needs to work together. That's the main thing.
No, and I feel that. So once you've rolled out, and once these are all out, so over the next course of the year, you're going to fully open 35, 40?
Probably towards, I guess, middle of next year. Hopefully we'll have all of them open. But we've just onboarded 9 new franchisees where they've come in, they've done the onboarding. So we've taken them for a 3-day process where they learn all the operations, all the marketing, recruitment, fit out, even all the systems we use. They go through all of that, and then they're ready to basically start their fit out, start their pre-sale, and then open. So we've got 9 now that we've done. There's another lot looking for sites. So
if someone's on here listening to this podcast thinking, do you know what, I'd actually be wanting to start a strong, or they're looking into starting a strong franchise right now, what locations in Australia have you got open?
We've got now just 2 in Melbourne, one on the Gold Coast.
No, what I mean is in terms of
what's available.
What's available, yeah.
Oh man, all of basically Sydney, aside from Cronulla, is open, ready to go. Perth is pretty much all there, ready to go. Adelaide, sort of South Australia, is basically selling out now. What we find is every time we open a studio,
more want to open.
It's like what happened here on the Gold Coast. We opened Hope Island. Basically, the whole Gold Coast sold out. Our next studio is Adelaide in Henley Beach. And,
I love Henley.
Yeah, and when we announced that, I think we had probably 20 locations trying to be reserved. Just after that in Adelaide. Yeah. And so
Henley's probably your primo location there as well.
Yeah, it's a good first one, man.
Yeah, I love Henley.
But yeah, I mean, there's still quite a bit of Melbourne. Brisbane, we've got, this is another cool one, West End will open. And then, from that, we've just by announcing that in a few, EDMs and posts.
Yeah.
We're getting heaps of Brisbane inquiries. I think it's this FOMO thing. And I think what F45 did really well for us, and Fitstop have done really well for us, and Body Fit in Melbourne, so we've done really well. They've grown this market of fitness entrepreneurs, and people don't want to miss out on what's next.
So when you have what they term as the hot thing, which is probably at the moment what Strong really has in the marketplace, people want to be involved.
And where we've got a nice sort of, I guess, niche is we're not fighting for that hit space. We're not fighting for that F45 member or that Fitstop member or that. Yeah. We've got something very, very unique where we've got Pilates with conditioning. And so we're getting people who are CrossFitters, and we're getting people who have been doing different
So you're becoming their second training facility. Is essentially what you're doing?
No, well, we're actually getting them on as our primary members now.
Yeah.
People are leaving their studios and coming and just doing Strong, which is amazing. And the way that I'm programming everything, and we've got this team of probably 6, maybe 5 or 6 coaches. One's a strength and conditioning coach, one's a Pilates expert, one's a Legree Pilates expert, one's a rowing performance coach, and we're trying to create all the elements at Strong. So you'll do we will work on progressive overload where we'll lift really, really heavy and we'll break and then we'll lift again because we want muscle adaptation. We want girls to grow a booty. Whereas Pilates traditionally has been always, you can get a booty by doing Pilates. But when you think about the science behind it, if you're working aerobically and you're not resting, it's harder for you to achieve those results. And particularly if you're not getting enough load. Working under load.
So you got to make sure the weight's right.
And so there's we're trying to do a little bit of everything, but still maintain our core competency of Pilates. But yeah, man, that's why we're seeing people just leaving their gyms and coming and signing up as their main studio Strong.
That's good.
Yeah.
Of course, it's all body all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we do upper body, lower body splits.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do really work on sort of a 7-day program, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I presume you need, like any form of fitness, you need rest and obviously recovery days and all that kind of stuff. And do you know what I mean? You need to be eating the right amount of nutrition for it to be able to deal with the workouts that you're doing. The one gripe I had with F45 as a guy looking from the outside is their nutritional program that they put with their members was, that I saw, was like 1,500 calories. And for the amount of abuse that you put through your body in 45 minutes, that's why people were breaking all the time. And that's why the brand kind of in certain environments got a bit of a bad name. It wasn't that the workout of the program was wrong. It's just that what you've got to be able to eat and consume and the rest that you have to be able to do that amount of work in a workout is pretty fucking important. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, particularly with high intensity training. You do need to fuel yourself. And I've been guilty of it when I've been trying to strip body fat and I don't eat enough, and then all of a sudden I'm getting injured and I'm lethargic, and I can't get through a fucking session. And you gotta eat, man.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and sleep's so important, and all this kind of stuff that gets missed out. I mean, so many people can improve their health just by looking at their sleep and making sure that they're eating right. Without even ever taking a drug, without a pre-workout, without any other bullshit. It's just like literally like address your sleep, address your diet, and then see how you feel.
I'll give you, these are my 4 that I think, and this is in order of importance.
Yeah, go for it.
Number 1, sleep, always 7 to 9 hours.
100%.
Okay? Number 2, hydration. Okay.
Yeah.
So 1 litre for every 25 kilos of body weight that you are. Okay. An extra litre if you train with intensity, and an extra litre on top of that if you're in a humid climate, or if you're in quite a hot sort of
situation.
Climate. Number 3 is nutrition.
Yeah.
And number 4 is movement. I would say that's in order of importance for health. And then like now kind of we're looking, particularly when we run retreats, we're looking more holistically again, and things like mobility is massive now as well.
100%. 100%. It's for even for me, right? I was lifting a lot more weights, trying to get bigger and this, that, and the other, trying to grow and all this stuff. And I was like, but I love moving, man. Like you gotta, I love the art of boxing and the movement, right? So I'm never gonna be the fucking world gym guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if I go and eat and all that and get to that size, which I could grow a lot bigger, but if I go and grow my body to that size, then I haven't got the mobility and the movement that I have. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to find where you are as a human and where you want to be as a person in terms of like what you want to achieve and live there. So like for me, it's just like, okay, I want a ripped physique, and I want to be able to move boxing, my boxing stuff to be my movement kind of stuff, and I want to stretch, and like that's me, And you kind of have to identify that, don't you? And be honest with yourself. You don't have to go and achieve the same physique as everyone else just because you've seen them on Instagram, do you?
That's right, and it's hard, and like if people want to do bodybuilding or whatever, like that's great as well. Like
there's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with it, but I guess it's up to you, and that also takes sacrifice,
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, if you're sleeping well and you're eating well and you're training and you're mentally feeling good, like what more do you need unless you're trying to compete in some sort of some sort of competition or trying to or you want to look a certain way. I don't know, man. I think the world needs to stop and everyone needs to get off for a second and have a little look and say, do you know what? Like I was saying, like way back in this podcast, is like, is this actually me, or am I doing this because I'm being kind of pushed into it, or I'm kind of trying to fit in? Because I look at my life a lot going backwards and think to myself, okay, are you living true to authentically in terms of like what you want to do? And that's why I brought a lot more boxing back into me training, because it's like, well, if I'm not doing that, that's not really authentic, because I love it. So it's like, why wouldn't you do something you love more? You know what I mean? Like add. This is a good point for everybody. It's like, have a look at your day-to-day stuff that you're doing, right? And add
take out one, just to try this week. Take out one thing of every day that you don't like, and add in something you're truly passionate about. Not necessarily for money. For me, it's boxing training. For you, it might be, I don't know, you might fucking like doing makeup. For lads, it might be, you want to do something else. Whatever it might be, add it in. See how your next week goes. I guarantee you're going to feel a lot better. I've spent the last 3 weeks doing that. I took out a weight session. I put in a boxing session. Guess what?
Feel better now?
Fucking right I do.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm like, what? I'm lifting all these weights. I'm getting bigger, but it's like when I throw my jab's slower.
Yeah.
When I do this, two and a half weeks later, I can already feel like I've added speed to every element of my movement. And mate, when the music starts playing and I start moving, it's like, and when you feel it and vibe it, it's like that. How I leave the gym and my mindset and the work that I achieve after doing it because I've added in what I actually fucking love, it takes you to a whole different level.
Yep.
Which is going to take me on to this point, right? What do you think are the key things for people to get right in terms of their mindset to be able to go and achieve things in business and the gym and everything that you're doing? Because obviously you've achieved a lot in a short space of time, but you mentioned obviously for a lot of years there you were just fucking turning the gears, flipping the gears, but there was not a lot of progress. But then all of a sudden something fucking changed. So what was the mindset shift for you that allowed you to change it? Yeah,
I think there's two things, and you hear this a lot. It's, follow your passion, but it's finding something that, that doesn't feel like work, and something that makes you get out of bed without you feeling like, oh, fuck, another day,
Yeah.
The biggest thing that's really helped me over the last sort of 6-7 years is, why not me? Like that notion or that thinking of, why can't I be the expert? Like, you see how quickly social media is moving, and how quickly even people who started so-called experts a year or two ago are now the leaders, and how quickly society is moving.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've always now got this mindset, why can't I open 100 studios? Why can't I be the one? Like, when you look at it now, there's probably 20 companies in Australia doing it, or that have successfully franchised in the fitness space. Maybe 6 of them are doing it correctly. Why can't I be one of those 6? Why can't I be better than those 6? And the whole notion of,
and why does it have to stop at Australia?
Well, it doesn't, and it won't.
Yeah.
But I think giving yourself the
permission
and backing yourself to go, yeah, well, I'm capable, and if this person can do it, I can definitely do it. Like, it's, and you shouldn't ever really compare yourself, but I think it's there to be taken. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think the world is abundant, like, in terms of what you can do. It's just, can you visualize yourself doing it? And not only can you visualize yourself doing it, but sit there and think about, okay, when I have done it, how do I want to feel that I've done it? Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's important. Because so many people I find, and myself included, I'm as guilty as anyone as this, right? I've talked about this before, but I'll mention it again in here because I think it's really, really, really pivotal importance to the people that listen to this, right? And you'll probably resonate with this. I spent fucking over 10, 12 years, more of my life on this boxing training thing, getting to the level where I could work a world title fight corner. And I walk into the ring with Gary Cochran against Jeff Horn, WBO world title, announced by fucking Michael Buffer, 11,000 fans in the stadium at Brisbane, on 3 channels in America, 2 channels in the UK, 1 channel in Australia, main event, all that shit, right? I'm stood there in the middle of the ring, he's announcing it, he's calling it out. Boom, right? This is the big moment. This is the pivotal fucking moment. You're stood there in this boxing ring. This is your fucking dream. It fucking wasn't. It wasn't my dream. I looked out at the crowd as a boxing trainer. I've achieved a world title. Do you know what? Did you know the real key reason why I got to that level was because I felt like I had something to fucking prove. So I put my ladder against this wall, went out there, fucking battle, got there. And when I got there, it was the most emptiest fucking experience of my life. Because then I felt guilty that I didn't appreciate the amount of work that I put in to get to the point where I was stood there looking out at this stadium thinking, fucking hell, there's 11,000 people here. They've announced my name as a trainer with Frank Reeves and that in the corner. All this stuff's happening. But it just, there was nothing there, bro. There was fucking nothing there. It was just emptiness. So my key thing here is, what I was saying to you is like, so many people go out there with their ladder pitched against the wrong fucking wall and they're climbing it every fucking day. And even when they get to the top, they'll feel like shit. So you can identify that now because when I look back, I fucking knew, mate.
Yeah.
It was just an ego play where I was just trying to prove something, prove myself for no fucking reason.
You got to know your why, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
It's really interesting that, like, with that story that you just said, like, I had a similar. I remember when I sold my two big studios, and I did really well financially, and I remember when it all went through, I'm like waiting for something, like waiting for this feeling of gratification or waiting for something. And it was the same fucking day as it was yesterday. Like nothing had changed. And nothing was like, wow, I've done it. I've climbed this big mountain. I've just cashed in and I can now, reinvest in what I want or what. It wasn't like that. It was just like, oh fuck, now what do I do? Well, I knew I had to do strong, but it wasn't, there wasn't that feeling of that euphoric feeling. But I remember when we won, the first time we won Best Studio in the world, and I was up there at the Ivy in Sydney in front of probably 1,000 people accepting the award and talking about how we did it. For me, I felt so happy, and I usually when I go out, I like to party, I like to drink and everything. For the rest of the night, I barely drank because I didn't have to. I was so happy and euphoric, and I think it was a gratification of achieving an award and achieving a result, and that was my why, as opposed to the financial aspect of it all. Yeah. So I think now for me to where I want to be with Strong is not so much about selling the business for 30, 50, $100 million down the track. It's not about that. It's actually the achievement of opening the studios and having. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
but I kind of feel, Michael. Yeah. At the end of the day, here's how I feel about this now, having been through that and learned it at a high level myself. It's like I'm like it's as simply this, right? I put this pedestal and you put this pedestal of getting to selling these franchises, and I put the pedestal of this boxing representing the world title level.
Yep.
And if you put something on a pedestal and when you get there, it feels like you've done nothing. Because to me, where you should put your attention on is the journey. Yeah. The absolute journey of like, and what I did, I kind of, it sounds weird. I went and meditated about this because I thought, fuck me, how can you be so ungrateful about doing this? You know what I mean? You're one of the youngest in the world to do it. I went and meditated about it, and I thought to myself, I thought of all the things, all the trials and tribulations I had to go along that journey to get to the point where I was at that point. And there was so much more growth and so much more understanding, so many more life lessons in that for me as a human being than there was in the pinnacle point. So what I would say is this, for anyone that's out there that's struggling with this, is simply this, right? There shouldn't obviously have goals that have end destinations, but don't treat them as end destinations. Like when Strong gets to 100 franchises, that's not the stop goal. The next goal would be like 200 or 350 or something else. But kind of just have your goal should be the journey that you go on. But when you get to the points in that journey, that's just a stop point. You celebrate your success and then you move on. Like my goal with being a boxing trainer at the time should have been to be in the sport for 40 years, to do this, do you know what I mean? My goal should have been way longer, but it wasn't. And that's why I got out of it, because my goal was for one pinnacle event to prove people that didn't even matter, that didn't have that didn't even know I was proving it to them wrong. And it was just completely fucking pointless, predicated on the fact of how I'd structured it. I'd structured myself to fail because even when I won, I failed because I felt empty. And I set myself up for that. And a lot of people are going through life setting themselves up for that. They're setting themselves up to feel empty when they've achieved everything that they thought they wanted.
And I guess you need a learning curve like that, like what you went through to understand that and realize that.
100%.
And sometimes people will probably just have to go through it themselves to realize,
100%.
hey, that wasn't actually the goal, and fuck, I should have just been in the moment and loving what I was doing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So with this podcast, right, with my goal for the podcast is to just do another awesome podcast next week.
Yep.
It's not to get to 100. It's not to get to 150. The goal is not to get to 1,000 episodes. The goal is not to compare myself to Joe Rogan. My goal is not to compare myself to old mate that has the mentor, right? It's not about that, because I'm Frankie, they're them. We're not on a competing tour. We're just doing our own thing. But like, you can't have your goal. I did have a goal to I saw the guy that what's his name, Mark Boris, as the mentor. I thought, fuck, I'm going to smash his podcast. I listen to him, I can beat him.
Yeah.
But that's animalistic mentality. It's like, what the fuck are you, mate? That's not the goal, man. That's not the goal. That can't be the goal, because that's not. There's no. You get there and say you win. What is it? A dick swinging competition then? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be like that, does it? But we all go through life, whether we're male or female, and we put ourselves in these fucking egotistical dick swinging competitions with other people that don't matter a fuck. And all the juice, the only juice of being on this fucking planet is in the journey from destination to destination to destination to destination. There is no fucking juice when you actually get to the destination, because you realise there's no more fucking learning, because you're already at the fucking place, aren't you?
And I think what you said before, you have to celebrate it though. But move on. But
celebrate it, but don't live there.
Yeah, you need to celebrate your wins, and that's something that I learned as well. Like every time we'd open a new studio or something like that, it was like next day back to work. But really, like as we got further down the journey, it was like, actually we need to stop and pat ourselves on the back and go, good job. Let's go out let's take the whole team out.
100%, 100% celebrate the 55th one, right? Celebrate the 75th one.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's not about having 75. It's like, well, okay, if we've done 75, could we do 1,005?
Yeah.
Could we do fucking 3,000 globally?
Yeah.
Well, while you're dining out and celebrating 75, you've just missed the opportunity on doing 3 more. It's people. That's not the goal. That's what my point. The whole point is, like, people get caught up on things that aren't even important, and we all get caught up in this competitive nature. And I'm as guilty as this than anybody. So I'm telling you all right now. I'm telling you. I'm telling everyone that listens to this. I'm as guilty as anybody at having that competitive, egotistical look at things. I'm going to beat this guy. I'm going to do that. I'll fucking this, that, and the other. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't fucking matter. It's all about the juice is in the journey. Enjoy the fucking journey. No matter what you're building, just build it and enjoy it. Like you say, take a time out, pat yourself on the back, crack on. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it's just so much better. It's so much more freeing for you for your mindset.
Yeah, and you'll enjoy every day a little bit more as well, I think.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
And I love the fact of you breaking it down the way that you've broke it down in terms of like with Strong and that, because like it's you've got a play that doesn't involve, you've not set. People say in business that you should plan your exit from day one. I kind of agree. Agree in certain respects that you can plan your exit from day one, but if you're going to plan your exit from day one, plan what you're doing the day after you've exited as well. Don't just plan your exit. Because otherwise, then you've just planned an end goal, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you kind of leaving yourself double fucked. Because I guarantee you, when you exit for 500 million, and then the next day or the week after, if you've partied for a few weeks, it's like, oh, okay, now what do I do then? You could have planned that, and it could all be part of the journey. And journeys don't always work out how you plan them, do they, Michael? But like, at least have a little go. At least have a little go at seeing it for a bit more than what it is.
That's right, and I think with Strong particularly, it's not. I don't have an end figure of studios or anything like that, but it's more like I think if we can have all 35 of these studios being highly successful and running well with great communities, that is more gratifying than having 100 where they're struggling and they're, you know, there's a shit vibe or it's getting a bad reputation or whatever. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, man. I'm pretty excited though,
mate. I think you're onto a winner with it.
Yeah.
What's before we obviously depart the podcast and all that stuff? Just break me down for like someone who's looking. Is there a set financial structure that it costs to open a Strong, like, or? Yeah,
it's $50,000 for a territory.
Yeah.
And then to open a studio, it's probably going to cost maybe another $250 on top of that in terms of equipment, fit out. The equipment can be financed. So, you know, you probably need about 100 to 150 in the bank account.
Yeah.
And then you would finance sort of the equipment and that sort of thing. But yeah, mate, it's, we're getting all sorts of people coming on board. You know, we're getting, people who are quitting their jobs that want to be be in charge of their own destiny. We're getting people relocating from Melbourne and Sydney coming up to the Gold Coast buying studios.
I don't blame them, to be honest, mate.
Down there.
Mate, I don't. And that's another quick thing I want to say to you is like, did the lockdowns in Melbourne like really affect you? Because I know that you came to the Gold Coast a lot earlier in your journey, because of Melbourne and how like Dan Andrews was trying to literally like dry hump everybody.
Do you
know what I mean? I'm gonna have to get him on. I'm gonna have to get Dan Andrews on this podcast to talk about how he handled that situation.
Oh man, if you can get him on, you'll be the first. No, I literally jumped in a car, drove 18 hours and beat the border closure here.
Yeah. Just
because we need to keep moving forward with our business. Like, we were going to onboard 4 franchisees in Melbourne, but we ended up doing it here in Hope Island last weekend. But don't worry, man, I've had a COVID test and everything like that.
Mate, I know, mate. If I'm going to get COVID off anyone, I'd rather it be you anyway.
But yeah, man, last year, like, I think Melbourne was in lockdown for like 5 months. And after sort of 4 months, I ended up jumping on a plane, went to Darwin. I quarantined in Darwin and then flew and moved to the Gold Coast. So I was living in Gold Coast again around this sort of time of the year.
Yeah.
And opened up the Hope Island studio here just because I couldn't sit there and just not do anything.
Yeah.
Like, bro, it's hard. And
soul destroying to see that in a country like this. I mean, for the small amount of cases that they talk about, for what they're doing for what they're willing to do to an economy, it just baffles me. It baffles me.
And right now, like, in Melbourne, I've got friends opening up their nightclubs, like literally tonight.
Yeah.
And none of the gyms can open. I've got mates that will go to strip clubs tonight but can't train in the gym. And it's just the whole mentality behind it.
Do you want to name your mates that are going to the strip club tonight so their missus can rein them in?
No, I won't. But
it's a good example though. Fucking hell.
Bro, it just shows you how backwards it is and how and gyms don't have we have a few organisations. I was part of a lobby group last year that lobbied the government, and we tried to get gyms open. And if we hadn't have done that, we probably wouldn't have opened when we did. But you look at the money behind like all the restaurants and like it's called the Hoteliers Association. It's millions and millions of dollars. And the fitness industry, although we service like 1 million people a day in Melbourne, it's still not the size of say the restaurants and the cafes and the bars and it's all politics, and that's all breaks my heart. Like, it's just all it is fucking politics. It's not about the science. It's not about why can you go to a strip club and not go to the gym? It
doesn't make any sense. And like the whole thing to me hasn't made any sense, because essentially what a coronavirus is, in essence, is a common cold. Like when you actually look at the statistics of it, and when you actually break it down, and yes, I understand there are people that will die of it, but there are also people that die of the common cold too if their immune system's fucked. And And that is just, without being mean about it, it's like it's a natural thing that happens in the world to control populations of a global thing. I understand there's a pandemic, but it's like there's more people, I solemnly believe, that have got mental health issues now, financial issues, and are going to die from those things, and the drug abuse and the abuse that, you know, abusive partners at home locked in a room, all this stuff. There's going to be more people that die from that than there'll ever be that die from COVID-19. Yep. And this is not scientific advice; it's just my personal opinion.
Absolutely. Like the amount of the amount of depression and anxiety and everything in those, I remember last year, those 4 to 5 months in Melbourne was crazy. And there's people who mentally probably won't recover from this for 10 years. Financially won't be recovering for this for 10 years.
Yeah.
And even if they don't die, it's the miserable mental state that they're in now because of not being able to work, not being able to be amongst their peers and their community, and not being and being basically held captive in their houses. It's just, I don't know. It's a pretty sad thing, and some would say that it was completely necessary. Others would say there were better ways of doing it, but at the end of the day, I think it's just. It's not right. That's my opinion.
We live in one of the most beautiful countries in the world. It's life's abundant here. It's fantastic. I love this country. This country's one of my favourite places in the world. I wouldn't personally want to live anywhere else. And we live in the Gold Coast. We live in one of the best states, one of the best places in the best state in the world. But I do feel so bad for other people in Australia that have gone through the kind of shit that has been going on here. Like, it's just, it's not right on any level. I think the people in Australia can see it. And the fact that you have to get a permit now to leave the country, however, no matter what passport you hold, you have to get a permit and permission to be able to get a flight to get out of the country is again, something I don't think is very, very, very good when you think about it.
No,
really.
But I guess the only thing that you can kind of look at and have a little bit of, I wouldn't say understanding, but it gives you comfort to know this is happening everywhere. It's not, I know there's areas of Europe you can now kind of travel and whatever, but for the most part, like, everyone's going through it as well. 100%. Canada's been in and out of lockdown. Singapore's about to come out of lockdown. It's like
we're very lucky here.
Gold Coast is just amazing, bro.
Lucky place.
Lucky. Man. I mean, most of Australia is pretty lucky.
Gold Coast is like nothing's happened the whole way through.
Yeah, bro. It's God's country. It's amazing.
But I just look. I mean, I don't watch the news or nothing. But when I just look outside and hear what people are saying on social media and stuff, I'm like, fuck, that's a struggle. And I've had actually people that listen to the podcast in Melbourne reach out to me on social media saying like, you know, thanks for doing this because like it keeps us sane and stuff. I'm like, fuck it, like this makes that this. So it's amazing that a piece of content or art like a podcast can give someone a little bit of hope somewhere else. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy what you can do, but you don't realize it. It's just mad. But yeah, that's not the. I don't want to end the podcast like that. The way I want to end the podcast is simply this, mate. Thank you so much for your time, for coming on here. But like, if you took it all away from you right now, and you could, you're leaving the planet, you're leaving the world. There's nothing you can give them in terms of like physical. But if you could just give like people one piece of advice that lives on as you, and you, like your best piece of advice, what would it be?
It would just be back yourself. Just back yourself and go hard. People sit around thinking, oh, should I start this business? Should I start this podcast? Should I buy this house? Should I approach that person? It wasn't until like I just was like, fuck it, I'm quitting my job and I'm going hard. That's when the magic started to happen. So I think, it's just back yourself and go hard. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You end up back to where you were before. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
and sometimes just go. I love that because like even if you do end up back where you before, at least you had a go, and you won't die
wondering.
You won't die. You won't die wondering about why. You know, whether you should have done that, whether that was the right thing for you or anything else. You just like if you guys, we don't know whether we get reincarnated or nothing like that, but like let's just take it on the fact
now we're
that
going deep.
Yeah, but let's just take it on the fact that we're probably on the planet once as in this state, as who you are right now. Just have a fucking go, will you? Just have a go. Take this as your permission today to have a go with what you want to do in life. Actually have a go. Whether you're in a job and you don't like it, whether you're doing a business that you don't fucking like, you know, whether you want to go talk to that woman, whether you're going to want to talk to that man, whatever you want, whatever's for you, whatever you know's for you, but you won't execute on it. Do me a fucking favour. Go and execute something towards that today, and then thank me later for it. All right. But that's Michael Ramsey. Obviously, if you've enjoyed this podcast today, let Michael know in the DMs. Let me know in the DMs. If you can do us a solid thing and leave a review on Apple, I would appreciate it. If you can leave me a comment on the YouTube, if you can leave me a comment on Instagram, if you can share the content, I would appreciate it. We put our heart and souls into this. Michael, again, thank you so much for taking your time out to spend with this bald fella. He appreciates it.
Thanks,
mate, honestly, that hair, bruv, some serious techers. But yeah, and thank you so much, mate.
Thank you, bro.
And guys, stay tuned. There's some big things coming. Much love.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Frankie Podcast.